Okay, does everybody have those loaded up? Okay, so first and foremost, you have to know that I will absolutely expect an equation. A setup of an equation that you would use to solve the equation, even if you can mentally work through it or on your calculator work through it. Absolutely must have an equation that would solve the problem, okay? As I kind of pointed out back in goal 1.6, maybe? I think there were 6 goals in goal 1. In goal 1.6, I make notes. So I will always put to the side what my x represents and what everything in the equation represents before I try to make the equation. So we're going to set up an equation, and then we're going to solve an equation, okay, using all our rules of solving that we've learned. All right, first example. 4 more than 2/3 of a number is 22. Find the number. So in this case, I'm just looking for a number. So that's what my x is going to represent. So the number I'm looking for is my x. So again, that's like my little notes part. So I know what x stands for. Then I'm going to go back and I'm going to read it again. Rarely, I mean, I can't think of any time I do a word problem that I don't read it more than one time. Sometimes more than 2 or 3 times, okay? But this particular question kind of writes itself. So I go back, I read again. 4 more than means I'm going to add 4 to something. Not 4 plus, but something plus 4. What am I going to add it to? 2/3 of a number. We know that of means times. So 2/3 times a number. And we already wrote that our number was x. So 2/3 x is or equals 22. So there's my setup. Now I'm going to solve it using the skills I just used today in my assessment to eliminate my fractions. So I'm going to take everything times 3. So the first term, my 3's cancel. I have 2x. That does not look very good. So 2x plus 3 times 4 is 12. 3 times 2 is 66. Continue to solve. Subtract your 12. So 2x equals 54. And divide by 2. And x is 27. Now, these answers are checkable, but the problem is you can check it and think you're right, but it doesn't mean you're right. Because if your equation's wrong, then it's not the right answer. It might work in the equation that you set up, but if your equation's not correct, then it would be wrong. So you can check to see if it works in the equation that you made. That means you did all the solving correct, but it doesn't mean your equation was right. So these are trickier to check like that. Okay, a question on that one. Okay, second example. Brian has $88 in his savings account. If he saves $3.50 per week, how long will it take him to have $200? This equation is kind of like just visualizing what's going on. You know, what are you doing? You're starting with some money, then you're going to add some money, and then you're going to end up with some money. Okay, so think of an equation like that. So x is going to represent what? X is going to represent how long. So since we're working with weeks, x represents the number of weeks. Usually, a lot of times I should say, the question that they ask tells you what your x is. So in this case, how long? So it's going to represent the number of weeks. So think about what I just said in terms of my equation. We're starting with some money, we're adding some money, and we're going to end up with $200. So we're starting with $88. And then I'm going to add $350. And I'm going to add $350. And I'm going to add $350. And I'm going to add $350 until I get to $200. Okay? So that x represents how many times you're going to add $350. So again, think of what it looks like. We're starting with $88. we're going to add to it $3.50. I don't know how many times, that's what we're trying to figure out. That's my x. 350 times the number of weeks that I do it, which is what I'm looking for, would equal my $200 at the end. Okay, so I'm going to subtract my 88. So I'm going to have 350x equals 112, and then divide by 350. And x is 32. So it's going to take me 32 weeks for my final answer. It's always good to label your answers. Okay, a question or clarification on that one? Okay, next question. The width of a rectangle is 15 centimeters less than the length. The perimeter is 98. So perimeter, remember, means all of the four sides added together. They don't tell us any of them though. So, looking at my rectangle, the width is what they tell me about. They give you a description about the width, which means they don't tell you about the length. So there's my x. The width is 15 less than. Less than means you're going to be subtracting 15. So the width is x minus 15. So the dimension they tell you nothing about is your x, and then the one they give you a description about is where you build on that x. And then remember our perimeter formula. 2 lengths, so 2 times x, plus 2 widths, so 2 times the quantity, x minus 15, equals the perimeter, which is 98. If you wrote the equation as x plus x minus 15 plus x minus 15, I would give you credit for it. But it's good to know the formula. Okay, so we saw I distribute. I collect my x's. So 4x minus 30 is 98. I add 30 to both sides. And I have 4x equals 128. And I divide by 4. And x is 32. And if we look back at what it's asking, it says find the dimensions. So from my picture, this 32 that I just got represents the length. To this, they do give us the unit of measure. So my length is 32 centimeters. And my width, from my picture, my notes that I started with, 32 minus 15, or 17 centimeters. You gotta know that perimeter formula. It's easier to use than trying just to add all four sides together. It makes the equation a little bit smaller. Okay, we're looking for a number on this next one. Find a number that is 38 less than its opposite. So again, we're looking for a number. That's my x. So I go back and I read it again. Find a number, so my x, that is or equals 38 less than, means I'm subtracting 38 from something, not 38 minus, than its opposite, meaning the number's opposite. So if x is my number, then its opposite is negative x. Just like if 5 is my number, the opposite is negative 5. So find a number, so my x, that is or equals 38 less than, subtract 38, its opposite, or negative x. And then I solve. So add x. So x plus x is 2x equals negative 38, and divide by 2. And x equals 19, negative 19. Oops. Yes, sir.
Can't you just take half of 38?
Do you have an equation?
No.
So you could, but I wouldn't give you any credit for it. Okay, question on that one, on my setup. The solving, I'm sure we're good with, okay? In a triangle, the sum of the measures of the angles is 180 degrees. In triangle ABC, angle A is 3 times as large as B and also 16 larger than C. Find the measure of each angle. Okay, read that through for a second. And I'm going to take a vote here on what you would let be x. Would you let angle A be x? Would you let angle B be x? Or would you let angle C be x? Okay, how many would let A? How many would let B? How many would let C? Okay, we're going to go with C because that was the majority. It doesn't mean you have to go with C though, okay? So, if C is x, let's read it through. Angle A is 3 times B. Well, we don't have B yet, so we can't write anything for A based on that, okay? It's also, now that's description is still about A, okay, because it says and also, so that means angle A. So angle A is also 16 larger than C. So A is what? A is also 16 larger than C. So what is A? X plus
16.
Okay, x plus 16. Okay, now we got to read again to get B. A is 3 times as large as B. A is 3 times as large as B. Now you got to work backwards here. If A is 3 times as large as B, then B is what to A? Okay, I'm going to repeat my question. We'll get a few more hands maybe. If A is 3 times B, then B is what A? Grace? 1/3 A. So we're going to have a fraction here by choosing our C. Okay, so if you chose C to be X, this is your setup.